Some time ago, my family and I had an amazing experience during our visit to Concord Farms in Georgia. This farm is owned and operated by lead farmer John Jackson, who nearly took his own life several years ago because of what he had to deal with PTSD and other issues associated with being a veteran. But he has found healing through farming here at Concord Farms. This farm not only grows amazing food, but it also provides a place of healing for many. Well, we are back again at Concord Farms. This time we're here with many others to celebrate the Boucherie Festival.
Les Pieds de Mon Boucherie.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's not right.
Sounds close. Okay. Better than I can do. So what is the Boucherie, you may be asking?
It's a festival where butchers, chefs, farmers, veterans, and people from all kinds of backgrounds come together to celebrate the beginning of the growing season and just to honor the life of those animals for our food.
And it was so neat to come together for this 3-day festival. And on the first day, we processed the animals. There were chickens, ducks, rabbits, turkeys, pigs, and even sheep. The last time we were at Concord Farms, I absolutely fell in love with the sheep. Yes. John raises Gulf Coast sheep, and they have been in this area for a long time. It's a heritage breed, yep. And they are really, really hardy, and I just couldn't wait to be around these sheep again. And we actually had the opportunity to be around them a lot. Yeah. And while we were there was a lamb that was born, and we just missed it when it was born. Yeah. But I did get the opportunity to hold it in my arms, and it felt so neat.
And cute.
It was so cute. And they had this little brown one that I got to hold, but there was also another one that I got to hold too, and it was just so neat being around them and just seeing them run around. And I even had the opportunity to pet the sheep this time. I really didn't get to touch them last time. It was just so neat to touch their wool. I just love those sheep. Can't stop petting them. It feels so neat. But since this first day was processing day, I knew that some sheep were going to need to be processed for this festival. And we have processed animals a number of times, mostly chickens and ducks here on our homestead, but I had never really seen a large animal processed. And I had this doubt in my mind, and could I do it? I don't know if I could see it happen. And it's one thing, because I had that doubt before we did the chickens and ducks before. Yeah. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I know I need to be able to do it, but I don't know if I can. Once I did it, I was fine. But this animal's bigger, and everything's bigger, inside and out. So it's like, can I do it? Will I be able to watch it happen? And while we were there, I didn't know exactly when they were going to start processing the sheep. So I actually missed it when someone came over and told us, hey, they're starting the sheep. I was like, oh, I missed it. And I actually missed when they were dispatched. And they did it so peacefully, I didn't even hear it happen. I didn't know until once I got over there where they were going to be processing and they were hanging up on the racks that they were starting with the sheep. So they did 2 sheep, and 1 sheep was done, we'll call it sheep 1, was done by Chef Hector. He was leading the project on this one. Yeah. And this sheep, they did it like nothing I've ever heard about before. I've never seen sheep processed, but I have heard somewhat of how you actually do it. Yeah. But his technique was completely different than anything that I ever heard before.
Sure was.
He took a torch, and they were torching the wool off. There were no plans of using the wool from the sheep in any capacity for this festival. So they used a torch just to blow it up, to scorch it off. Yeah. And then after that, they used a Cajun rocket pot, which I really like, and I think we could really benefit from using it when we process our chickens. Well, they used it to get the scalding water, and they were pouring the water on the sheep after they had scorched the wool off.
And they were using knives to just get the last little bit of that felted wool off of there and scraping the skin so it was nice and smooth.
He wants the skin on, right?
Okay.
So we typically don't do skin on here in America with sheep. But indigenous cultures around the world, what they do is they don't have the fancy stuff that we have. They throw it right in the fire. And what the fire did was his traditional dish with from Puerto Rico. So if you follow Hector, he's going to be preparing it in a way that's just amazing.
Wow.
And Sheep 2 was led by Chef Blair, who's also a working member on the farm with John. And we actually come to really love Chef Blair. We met him last time we were at
really
Comfort
cool guy.
Farm and really liked Blair. So he was super busy all over the place during the boucherie, but he was leading this project. And with this sheep, they did it the typical way. They removed the wool just by skinning it, and I'd never seen this done. I was actually pretty amazed on how easy it was to remove the wool.
So what we have here, we have sheep number 2, and they're doing it pretty much the traditional way. So they're taking it and they're skinning it, and then you can use the pelt or the wool from that. So this is actually how you save the wool on there.
I've never done this before.
I mean, it's not that hard because literally there's only a certain spot you really have to use a knife. Once you get to this point, you can almost just put your hand in there and rip it off.
Oh, wow.
Like it's just connective tissue that's so thin.
Next came the evisceration part, and this was the part I was most nervous about, seeing all the insides be taken out. It was like, oh man. And I must say, seeing an animal processed is not something that I find entertaining or is just like this joy, super fun experience that I look for, nor do most other farmers, like even John that I know. They don't look forward to that. And it was even interesting. It was so neat to see John and how emotional he was with an animal that was processed on another day. It was his favorite one that he was really fattening up to be fed to us, that he was just getting so emotional and teared up about it. But at the same time, he was joyful about it, that he was able to share that animal as well as these sheep and others with his friends. That was so powerful to hear him say it. And he'll say that in an upcoming video and talk about it more in detail. But how he really enjoyed sharing the animals that he raised, and for us, the best for his friends that have come together for this Boucherie festival, for us to be able to sit down and enjoy it together. Powerful.
Very powerful.
But here was the evisceration part, and I was watching it happening, and actually was making it through all right. I was like, okay, this is not that bad. I've seen chickens done, now I'm watching a sheep being done, and I'm doing okay. No queasy stomach, no, none of that. I was totally fine. And Michelle, also called Dr. P, was leading this part of it while Chef Blair was somewhere else around the farm doing all kind of stuff, and she was really providing us with some education on this process. And there were actually some parasites found in this one particular sheep, and she showed us what they look like.
USDA. So Michelle, like if you're a farmer and you bring your sheep to the USDA and they look at that, what are they going to do? Are they going to condemn that animal?
No, they're not. And what they would do, and I need a garbage can for all of this, is as when we pull the organs, I'm gonna look at the liver and the kidneys for spots on that, and they would then go and condemn that, but the carcass itself would be fine.
Right. Condemnation of a carcass would typically entail what? If they would condemn a carcass?
Well, if they condemn a carcass because it's got signs, so like in sheep we condemn carcasses for signs of infectious disease to people, and so then what ends up happening is if the USDA condemns, it's got to become a conversation between the processor and the farmer, because the farmer is then not going to be able to sell that.
Exactly.
And that's part of, like what you and I talk about, John, is the process of creating safe food and a profitable product starts on the farm.
Yes.
And so the first thing when I saw this, I was like, John, we have to talk about your pasturing program, because here in Georgia we have a real problem with these kinds of worms, and because they're resistant to all the wormers that we have. And so almost your only option to control this parasite load is to do rotational grazing like we do in sustainable ag. Chemicals will not take care of this anymore.
Right.
We are past that point. Chemicals don't take care of this anymore. It is only how you feed the animal, how you rotate where the animals eat, and how, like what you were talking about, the way these guys eat, what the parasite load is on their incoming food. And that all has to be part of your business planning.
And guys, I'm going to reiterate too, another part about this is being selective on who you breed in your herd. If you're breeding moms and dads that you have to constantly give parasite to, shoot them in the face, eat them.
It's time for freezer camp.
That's it. If you want to keep the herd and only breed from the ones that are showing less or showing more resistance to parasites naturally, and you still might have issues like this where they can actually grow and do well, but sometimes parasite really inhibit growth, and you want to really look at it.
And I know that may sound cruel, but it really is more loving and more noble to be thinking about what you're doing now with your animals with the future generations in mind. So I think that's pretty good advice and wise, good wisdom from John there. And she also showed us some spots on the liver where the liver was actually trying to heal itself from the parasites that were attacking the sheep.
Look at that. So that's the sheep trying to heal itself from its parasite infection. And then that's these are all, we call them milk spots, but those are milk spots on the liver because the what's it called? The parasites. It's a parasite that they pick up the egg, they eat the egg, and it goes through their gastrointestinal tract. And then if you come back over here, so the parasites migrate out of the intestines, right? And then they migrate up the blood. These are all blood vessels. They migrate up the blood vessels, and then they come into here, okay? And then they migrate out of this, and they migrate up the bloodstream, and they cross the bloodstream where the liver and the stomach and everything meet. They cough them up, they swallow them again, and continue the cycle.
Oh wow.
So, anyway.
These sheep, as you can see, typically anywhere in the country, if you have a wool sheep, most of your wool sheep have like a lanolin that's infused in the meat, and it's really disgusting. And I shouldn't say disgusting. For most Americans, it's not a taste that we like. All right. For Europeans, they love that type of food. Ironically, this sheep is probably one of the best tasting wool sheep that you will have because it's tastes like a hair sheep or a goat. They act like a goat. They actually eat a lot of browse like a goat, and they don't necessarily need pasture. So these sheep are real old, and this herd right here has the genetics. For any sheep that was walking around over 150, 200 years ago, these are the genetics of those sheep that would have been around. So if you're getting into sheep, these are a good breed to look at. They're threatened, almost endangered, and we need more people to grow them. We're going to taste them. Hopefully you like them, and hopefully you demand them. I believe in conservation through consumption. So that's it. The more you eat, the more you want.
Okay, we're done.
And as the sheep were being processed, all the kids were running around playing on a big mulch pile around there. And it reminds me of, this is what kids would have been around for a long time. They would have been around on Butcher Day. They would have known how to do these things. And if they're not old enough to participate in that, then they would at least have been around it, and it's not foreign. So that was really cool to see all these kids running around playing, and just on, Butcher Day.
Well, after the sheep were done being eviscerated, next, Chef Blair took his sheep, bagged it up, and moved it over to the food prep area where he began scoring it and getting it ready to be marinated. And while this was happening, Micah headed on over there to watch Chef Blair in action. And as he was scoring the meat, over on another table, Stev was preparing the marinade for this sheep.
So I hear you're the marinade sauce man?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us a little bit about the sauce you got there?
Yes, I can. We are taking the lamb in a Thai variety today. We are going to make a rub that's similar to a traditional Nam prick called Manak Boron, which is old tamarind relish. So it's very heavy in the tamarind, has a nice sour kick to it, and it's going to have a little heat on the back end.
And after Stev was finished putting the marinade together, next they started to rub it on to the sheep. And I actually had a chance to taste it before they put it on, and let me tell you, it was fantastic. It was a perfect blend between spicy, some heat, with sweet. Just perfect. And after they were done putting the rub on this sheep, they bagged it up and let it sit overnight just for the meat to absorb all those good flavors. And we actually didn't get to see Chef Hector working on his, but the next day we were able to try Chef Blair's sheep, and it was absolutely fantastic when he made it. And I'm not sure if it was squash or sweet potatoes that he made with it.
I heard him talk about
but it was just so yummy. I was like, Chef Blair, you got to give me this recipe. I want to start raising some sheep, and then I want to process them, and then I want to use that same kind of recipe and eat it, because man, it was fantastic.
It was super good, I will say. Like, you only got a little piece, but man, I wanted a whole big plate full.
Yeah, everybody was coming through. There was a long line of people wanting to get that food. Each of the meals that were served, there was just this long line of people wanting to try each of the things that all the different chefs were making. And it was no different with Chef Blair and this sheep that he made. I believe they call it mutton.
Mutton, because I think it was at least a 2-year-old sheep. It was 2 or 3 years old.
But it was fantastic. I actually went through the line again to get some more because it was good. But next we got to try Chef Hector's sheep, and it was really good. It was very different because the skin, he cooked it in a way that it made the skin turn into like chips with it.
Yeah, they roasted it whole on a spit, and man, the skin, it was like a chip. It was really crunchy, and I had never had anything like that before, but it was super good. They served it over rice and had a little sauce on it. Super good.
Yeah, and I really like Chef Hector's accent. I even snuck back behind the line, behind the table, and said, "We need some more of that." And he's like, "Sure, the best ones are the ones on the rib." He gave me some of that, and I brought it over, and Selah was just sucking it on me.
And then when Selah was done with it, Micah was over there going at it too. So
it was some good food. These
really
were great. As well as a number of other things that were at the butchery were just absolutely fantastic. Yes. So not only are those sheep super adorable, I must say they taste really good too. And I really do want to raise some of those sheep. It'd be so nice to have them on our homestead, and we actually went back and looked at the sheep again just because they're so cute.
They're super cute.
Gage, one of John's sons, was actually following us around a lot during the butchery, that people even thought he was part of our family. And people say he does look similar to Micah. He was just following us around.
And especially from the back, they look like they're twins. It's a little crazy.
He even called me Dad at one point. I don't think he really knows my name, but he said Dad when he was trying to get my attention. I really think that confused some people.
Probably.
But it was so nice to hang out with the sheep again. And once again, they're just so cute. Can't wait to get some. I have to figure that out. Talk to John and Mark, who helps John raise the sheep. He was there with us, showing us how they're working with them right now during the colder season, and providing me with some tips. So hopefully I can have some sheep on our homestead one day.
Tasty pets.
So we just have to wait and see what happens. Well, make sure you stay tuned, because we got some more videos coming for our time here at the butchery at Comfort Farm. So make sure you stay tuned, and if you haven't subscribed already, you might want to do that too. And click that bell so that way you know, that notification bell, so you know when we release the videos. So check that out. Well, we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
I don't know what I was gonna say. See you next time.
Bye.